Hello, and welcome to Trading Lessons from Legends. Here, we don't chase predictions. We study patterns in markets and in the human mind. Every story you'll hear on this channel carries more than charts and numbers. It carries the psychology behind every rise, every fall, and every recovery. Because the greatest traders in history didn't just master the market, they mastered themselves. This is Trading Lessons from Legends, where the charts are mirrors, the stories are teachers, and every episode brings you closer to understanding the mind behind the money. Welcome to where experience becomes wisdom and the market still speaks. For those who know how to listen, the nature of pain. The first thing you must understand is this: human beings were never designed to trade. Our minds evolved to survive the jungle, not the market. We were built to run from pain, to hold on to comfort, to seek certainty in an uncertain world. That instinct once kept us alive. Now, it keeps us broke because the market, unlike nature, does not reward survival instinct. It rewards emotional awareness. And emotional awareness begins with understanding pain. Every trader knows the feeling. The screen turns red. The number you were proud of begins to shrink. Your pulse quickens. You stare at the loss. And somewhere deep in the back of your mind, a small voice says, "It'll come back. Just give it time." That voice isn't logic. It's your biology. It's the primitive brain, the amygdala, trying to protect your ego from admitting defeat. You see, to the human mind, a loss is not just a financial event. It's an identity crisis. To lose means I was wrong. And to admit I was wrong feels like dying even when it's just a trade. So instead of cutting the loss, you protect your self-image. You delay the pain. You call it patience. You call it faith. But it's neither. It's denial, the most expensive position in the market. Neuroscientists call it loss aversion. Psychologists call it the asymmetry of pain and pleasure. Economists call it irrational behavior. Jesse Livermore simply called it human nature. Studies show that the pain of losing is felt twice as strongly as the pleasure of winning. A $1,000 gain brings a spark of joy. A $1,000 loss brings a wave of agony. Your brain lights up the same regions that react to physical injury. The body actually treats financial pain as if you'd been cut, bruised, or burned. That's why you can't just be rational. The pain isn't in your portfolio. It's in your nervous system. So what do? You hold the loss. You stare at it. You hope, because hope, in the short term, hurts less than honesty. Hope is the most addictive drug in the market. It costs nothing to feel, but it costs everything to keep. You tell yourself you're being patient, that the price will recover, that your analysis was right, that the market is just shaking out the weak hands. But the truth is simpler and crueler. You're afraid to face your own reflection, because if you close that trade, you have to admit what you've been avoiding. That your judgment was flawed, that your ego misled you, that you were not in control. And that is the one thing humans cannot stand: the feeling of losing control. When you're in profit, you feel powerful, you feel smart, you feel safe. That's why people cut winners too early, because they fear that feeling disappearing. But when you're in loss, you feel exposed, weak, ashamed. That's why people hold losers too long, because they'd rather suffer quietly than face the truth publicly. The irony is brutal. We close winners to protect comfort and hold losers to protect pride. We kill our future to protect our past. In every trading floor and every home office, this drama repeats, not because people are foolish, but because they are human. No one wakes up thinking, "I'll let this loss destroy me." But once the pain begins, the logic fades. Your mind switches from decision-making to pain avoidance. You start bargaining with reality. If it just goes back to break even, I'll sell. Oh, but it never does not when you need it to. The market is not moved by your need. It moves by collective emotion, and collective emotion punishes denial. The longer you wait to cut, the deeper the wound, because pain ignored is pain multiplied. This isn't just psychology. It's biology. In moments of loss, the brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone. Your body floods with adrenaline. Your decision-making shrinks from strategy to survival. You don't trade anymore. You react. And reaction has no timeline, only emotion. That's why traders say, it's not the market that beats you, it's your own chemistry. Because in that moment, you are not reasoning. You are protecting your identity. You can lose money and recover, but lose the story of who you think you are. And the mind revolts. That revolt is what we call gonglor. The tragedy is that pain has a purpose. It's meant to teach, not torture. Every loss carries a message, but only if you let it speak. When you numb it with hope, you silence the teacher. When you fight it with denial, you delay the lesson. The market does not punish you for being wrong. It punishes you for staying wrong. Jesse Livermore once said, the market doesn't beat you. You beat yourself because you refuse to be small when the truth demands it. That's the essence of loss. It's not the money. It's the shrinking of ego, the humiliation of being human in front of truth. If you understand this, you begin to see pain differently. You realize it's not an enemy, but a signal, a compass pointing toward awareness. Pain means you care. Pain means you're engaged. Pain means there's something you still need to see. The problem isn't pain itself. It's the story you tell about it. When you believe pain is unfair, you suffer. When you see pain as feedback, you learn. The best traders are not fearless. They simply stop taking pain personally. They feel it, study it, and then let it go. Because they know that holding on to pain is just another form of holding on to loss. The reason most people gong lo tot hơn gong lai is not because they're strong. It's because they're afraid. They can tolerate pain longer than they can tolerate admitting defeat. They can sit in fire as long as they can pretend it's temporary, but they can't sit in peace because peace requires surrender, and surrender feels like death to a mind that equates control with safety. This is the nature of pain. It teaches through contradiction. It whispers through repetition. The market will always test your relationship with it, because until you can look at pain without resistance, you will always trade to escape it and not to understand it. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your reflection. And every time you look away, it waits, patient, precise, ready to remind you that the lesson hasn't been learned yet. The illusion of recovery. When you ask a losing trader why they're still holding, they almost never say, because I enjoy pain. They say, because I know it will come back. That sentence has destroyed more accounts than any crash in history. Hope, it sounds gentle, but in the market, it's a blade wrapped in velvet. It cuts slowly, softly, and by the time you notice the wound, you're already bleeding time, capital, and clarity. Why do people hold losses so long? Because hope is easier than humility. To sell means to accept. I was wrong. And that small confession, that brief flicker of honesty, feels unbearable to the ego. So instead, you change the story. You tell yourself it's just temporary. You say, it's only a paper loss. It'll bounce. It's oversold. The market is irrational. Anything to delay the moment you must face yourself. But denial is not protection. It paralyzes. Every day you hold a losing trade is another day you surrender your clarity to the narcotic of hope. Traders don't lose because they misread charts. They lose because they misread themselves. The illusion of recovery is the mind's last defense against reality. It whispers, it's not over yet, that, and you listen. Not because you believe in the market, but because you don't believe you can survive without being right. That's the truth behind every stubborn position. You're not defending money, you're defending identity. Jesse Livermore wrote about this long before behavioral psychology had a name for it. He called it the hope that kills. He said, the market does not beat you because you lose money. It beats you because you cannot accept the loss. He learned the hard way that the most dangerous moment in trading is not when you lose. It's when you hope your loss will disappear. Because when hope replaces discipline, reality becomes an enemy. Every trader has lived this nightmare. You watch the price fall. You tell yourself, it's fine. Then it falls a bit more. You add to the position. Now, instead of one problem, you have two. You stop looking at the screen. You stop checking the numbers. You say you're waiting for the market to come back. But the truth is, You're waiting for forgiveness. You're waiting for the universe to undo your mistake, so you don't have to face it. That forgiveness never comes, because the market is not a god. It doesn't forgive. It corrects. The illusion of recovery is built on the refusal to accept uncertainty. Our brains crave patterns. When something goes wrong, we search for symmetry, a reason, a rebound, a resolution. It's comforting to believe that everything returns to balance, that what falls must rise. But the market isn't nature. It doesn't owe you symmetry. It doesn't care what you need to feel whole. Every chart you hold in denial is just your mind projecting a fairy tale of control onto the indifference of reality. George Soros once said, "Markets are constantly in a state of uncertainty and flux, and money is made by discounting the obvious and betting on the unexpected." But most traders don't bet on the unexpected. They beg for the familiar. They want yesterday to repeat. They want the comfort of a world where logic and fairness exist. And when it doesn't, they cling tighter to the illusion, because the illusion hurts less than the truth. Hope keeps you in the trade. Ego keeps you doubling down. Fear keeps you from admitting you're trapped. By the time you realize what happened, you're no longer managing a trade. You're managing denial. Your stop loss is gone. Your plan is gone. All that's left is a silent prayer that the market will show mercy for a mistake it never noticed. This is the cruelest irony. The more the market moves against you, the more you believe it must reverse. The human mind seeks balance, and so it invents balance where none exists. You think, it's fallen too far, it has to rebound. But there is no too far in a system that doesn't know you exist. The market doesn't measure fairness. It measures flow, and flow has no obligation to your entry price. The illusion of recovery feels rational. It sounds patient, but patience without awareness is just inertia. You're not holding for a comeback. You're waiting for permission to forgive yourself. But forgiveness doesn't come from price action. It comes from truth. And truth, in the market, usually arrives in the form of pain. If you've ever closed a trade at a deep loss and felt the strange relief afterward, you've tasted that truth. That release, that silence, is the sound of denial dying. You think you've lost, but what you've really done is return to reality. You've traded hope for honesty, and honesty, in the long run, is the only profitable position. Why do people cling to losers? Because admitting defeat feels like erasing identity. They'd rather be the one who's waiting than the one who was wrong. It's pride disguised as perseverance. But the market doesn't care about perseverance. It only respects awareness. There's a difference between patience and paralysis. Patience observes reality. Paralysis resists it. If you hold a losing trade right now, listen carefully. You are not fighting the market. You are fighting the part of you that refuses to evolve. You are not waiting for the price to return. You are waiting for the person you were when you entered the trade, the confident version of yourself, to be proven right again. But that person no longer exists. They were replaced by the person who knows better now. And the longer you hold, the longer you refuse to become them. That is the illusion of recovery. It's not about money. It's about time and the refusal to move forward. The market always moves. Only humans freeze. Hope is not strength. Hope is delay. And delay is death disguised as optimism. When you finally let go, you'll feel the truth Jesse Livermore meant when he said, "Losing money is the tuition you pay for knowing yourself." You'll realize the loss was never the real cost. The real cost was the time you spent protecting your ego from the truth. The illusion of recovery ends the moment you realize you don't need the market to come back. You just need to. Fear of letting go. If loss is pain, then profit is fear. It sounds strange until you've lived it. You enter a trade. It starts to move in your favor. You feel good. Your heart lifts. For a moment, the world makes sense again. And then quietly, fear returns. Not fear of losing money, but fear of losing the feeling of winning. You watch the chart move higher, and your mind whispers, "Don't let it slip away." And you become tense, not because of risk, but because of attachment. The profit isn't just profit anymore. It's identity. It's validation. It's the story you tell yourself about who you are. And the moment you fear losing it, you've already begun to lose something far greater: your peace. Most people think fear belongs only to losing trades, but fear lives in both directions. When you're losing, you fear pain. When you're winning, you fear change. That's why traders often close winners too soon. It's not discipline, it's discomfort. Holding a winner requires maturity, because joy, when held too tightly, turns into anxiety. You can't enjoy the gain without fearing its disappearance. So you sell early. You lock it in. You tell yourself, no one ever went broke taking a profit. It sounds wise. It feels safe. But it's not growth. It's just another version of avoidance. The same mind that refuses to accept a loss also refuses to accept uncertainty in success. You think cutting a winner protects you, but really, it protects your need for certainty. Because if you close the trade, you control the ending. And control, even at the cost of potential, feels better than chaos. That's why people exit too soon. They want the comfort of closure. They can't stand the suspense of possibility. Possibility is thrilling, but it's also unbearable, because it reminds you that you are not in control. Psychologists call it the endowment effect. The moment you own something, your brain values it more than it's worth. You begin to fear losing what you have, more than you hope to gain what you could. The market exposes this bias perfectly. You see green on the screen, and your mind starts protecting it like territory. You forget that the profit isn't real until it's realized, but you also forget that realization kills potential. It's a paradox, and it eats traders alive. Jesse Livermore wrote, "It was never my thinking that made me money. It was always my sitting." He didn't mean laziness. He meant patience, the rare discipline to let a good position grow without strangling it with control. He knew that big money is not made by being right often, but by holding right long enough. Yet even he confessed that holding winners was harder than cutting losers, because profit triggers hope, and hope, once again, feeds the illusion of control. You start thinking you can predict the next tick. You start measuring yourself by the chart's movement. When it goes up, you feel worthy. When it wobbles, you panic. You think you're managing risk, but you're managing emotion. The truth is simple but brutal. You don't fear the loss of money. You fear the loss of meaning. When your trade is green, you feel right. When you close it, that identity dissolves. So you exit early. While the story still flatters you, you'd rather feel smart than become wise, because wisdom requires waiting, and waiting feels like surrender. There's another reason you cut winners short. You don't trust abundance. The human mind, conditioned by scarcity, feels safer, expecting disappointment, than trusting expansion. When something good happens, you brace for correction. When life gives you more than you expected, you shrink back, because receiving feels riskier than losing. You fear that if you don't take the profit now, the universe will snatch it away. That fear keeps you small. You see, both holding losses and cutting winners are born from the same root, the inability to stay with uncertainty. Loss tempts you with hope. Gain tempts you with fear. Both pull you away from presence. The market's greatest challenge isn't predicting direction. It's staying calm while you don't know it. When you sell too soon, you are trying to relieve tension. You can't tolerate the suspense of being right and still waiting. You think you're protecting profit, but what you're really protecting is your nervous system. You're trading for relief, not for truth. And the market punishes that quietly, not by taking your money, but by taking your potential. Look closely. This pattern repeats everywhere in life. We abandon relationships when they get too deep. We get projects when they start demanding patience. We stop believing when results don't come instantly. It's all the same habit, a refusal to stay with the discomfort of growth. You close winners too soon because you can't stand to live in becoming. You need an ending, any ending, to feel safe. But endings are not safety. They're just smaller versions of death. The market tries to teach you this in the gentlest way it knows, through numbers. It shows you that control is an illusion, that grasping too tightly chokes the very thing you're trying to protect. The best traders are gardeners, not hunters. They don't chase, they cultivate. They let growth unfold on its own time. They know that the moment you demand certainty, you invite fear. And fear, even in profit, is still loss. Jesse Livermore once said, "The desire for constant action is the cause of most losses." That includes the action of closing a winner too soon. He learned that restraint is not inaction, it's mastery. To hold a winner is to sit calmly in the unknown, to trust the process, even when the profit trembles, to breathe through the urge to protect it. Because you don't protect profits by acting, you protect them by understanding. So why do people hold losses but not gains? Because pain feels survivable, but joy feels fragile. You've lived through pain before. You know how to endure it. But joy, true, unfolding joy, feels too rare to risk. So you cage it. You take it early. You call it discipline. But it's fear. It's always been fear. The freedom you're searching for isn't in controlling outcomes. It's in letting go, in being present through every fluctuation, every tremor of gain or loss, without clinging, to hold without holding, to let go without fleeing. That's the art. The market rewards those who can stay there, between greed and fear, between knowing and not knowing, between having and losing, calm, aware, awake. That's where mastery lives, the mirror of suffering. There comes a moment in every trader's life when the charts stop being numbers and start being mirrors. At first, you don't notice the shift. You still think you're analyzing patterns, tracking probabilities, reading waves and candles. But somewhere in the silence between trades, you start to see something else, something that doesn't move on the screen, but inside you. You realize the market isn't showing you the future. It's showing you yourself. Every red candle you fear, every green candle you rush to sell, every plan you abandon, every rule you bend, it's all reflection. The market is not against you. It's responding to you. It mirrors your doubt with volatility. It mirrors your greed with traps. It mirrors your ego with humiliation. It mirrors your clarity with rhythm. The more you fight it, the sharper the reflection becomes. Because the market's purpose is not to reward or punish. It's to reveal. That's why losses hurt so deeply. They're not just about money. They're about truth. Each loss peels away a layer of illusion. The illusion of control, of certainty, of superiority. When the loss hits, you feel stripped, exposed, naked in front of the mirror, and you hate it. Not because it's wrong, but because it's right. It's showing you something you weren't ready to see. Most people think trading is about prediction. It's not. It's about perception. The better you perceive yourself, the clearer you perceive the market. But most traders never look inward. They're too busy trying to fix the reflection without touching the face. They switch indicators, change strategies, watch new gurus. Anything but stillness. They forget that no mirror can reflect peace if the person standing before it keeps trembling. Jesse Livermore once said, "The market is never wrong, opinions often are." What he meant was deeper than most realized. He wasn't defending the market's logic. He was describing consciousness. The market isn't wrong because it has no agenda. It doesn't love or hate. It doesn't care who wins. It simply shows what is. You can't argue with truth. You can only accept or avoid it. And every time you avoid it, you create suffering. Suffering is not the loss itself. It's resistance to the loss. When the market falls and you accept it, it's pain brief, sharp, clean. When the market falls and you resist it, it's suffering slow, heavy, endless. Pain is natural. Suffering is optional. But humans choose suffering because it keeps the ego alive. To suffer is to keep the story going. I was almost right. I just needed more time. I didn't deserve this. But the market doesn't tell stories. It only tells the truth. And truth doesn't care for your narrative. Look at a chart long enough, and you'll see your entire psychology laid bare. You'll see fear as consolidation. You'll see denial as stagnation. You'll see greed as vertical spikes. You'll see humility as quiet rhythm. Every candle is a confession. Every move is memory. The market records human emotion with mathematical precision. That's what makes it holy. A digital scripture of the collective unconscious. The greatest traders in history were not gamblers or geniuses. They were students of suffering. They studied their reactions until the mirror stopped scaring them. They realized that the market isn't a battle to win, but a reflection to understand. The enemy was never the volatility. It was the refusal to see themselves clearly. They learned to sit with pain until pain became perspective. And in that stillness, they stopped fighting and started seeing. When you can watch a loss without judgment, you've already transcended half of trading. Because the goal isn't to eliminate pain, it's to end resistance. Pain says, this hurts. Awareness says, yes, no. That's the point where growth begins. Livermore once wrote, a man must know himself before he can know the market. Most people read that as advice. It was a warning. If you don't meet yourself in the market will introduce you ruthlessly. You see, the mirror of suffering has only one purpose: to break the image you mistake for you, the version of you that needs to be right, the version of you that confuses confidence with certainty, the version of you that thinks safety exists in prediction. That's the version that suffers. The real you, the one behind all the noise, doesn't win or lose. It observes. It learns. It lets go. That's the self the market has been trying to show you all along. The moment you see this, everything changes. You stop trying to fight volatility. You start studying your reactions. You stop asking, why is the market doing this? And start asking, why am I reacting this way? You begin to see losses not as punishment, but as precision feedback. You stop trying to control and start listening. You realize that every tick, every move, every reversal is the market saying, look again. You missed something inside yourself. And then something quiet happens. The suffering softens. The mirror stops hurting. You start trading without noise, without the desperate need to be right. You still lose sometimes, but you no longer lose yourself. You still win sometimes, but you no longer worship the win. You begin to see that both sides of the candle, gain and loss, are made of the same light. The reflection is whole. It always was. The market doesn't heal you. It reveals where healing is needed. And when you let it, it becomes your teacher. Not a cruel one, but a truthful one. It teaches presence. It teaches patience. It teaches surrender. Every chart, every trade, every emotion is a lesson in awareness disguised as finance. The losses are chapters. The profits are punctuation. The story is you. This is why some call the market the greatest mirror ever built. Because when you finally stop trying to change the reflection, you see the beauty that was always there, the rhythm, the balance, the wisdom of impermanence. And you understand what Jesse Livermore meant when he said, the market never wrongs you. It only exposes your wrong relationship with yourself. That is the mirror of suffering, the final teacher before peace, freedom beyond pain. There comes a point when every trader stops asking, how do I win? And starts whispering, how do I stay free? Because after all the charts, all the trades, all the nights of doubt and hope, you begin to see the truth. You are never fighting the market. You are fighting your need for control, and the battle ends. The moment you stop fighting, freedom does not mean indifference. It means clarity. It means the ability to feel fully without being consumed. You can still care, deeply, passionately, but without attachment to outcome. That's what the greatest traders discovered. Not a secret formula, but a state of mind, equanimity. They stopped measuring their worth by profit and loss and began to measure it by peace and presence. You see, pain never disappears, but it transforms. Once, it was your prison. Now, it becomes your compass. Every time fear whispers, you recognize it. Every time hope tempts, you smile. Every time ego protests, you listen and let it pass. The same emotions that used to enslave you now remind you to stay awake. That is freedom, not the absence of pain, but the absence of ignorance. Freedom begins when you stop needing the market to behave. You realize it owes you nothing. No profit, no fairness, no comfort. And yet, you love it still, because you finally understand what it truly is. A mirror so perfect, it can only show truth. You don't worship it anymore. You walk beside it. You don't chase it. You listen, You don't demand it rewards you. You thank it for teaching you. The student has stopped trying to conquer the teacher. Jesse Livermore once said, "After a man has gone broke enough times, he either quits or stops lying to himself." Oh, that is the quiet enlightenment of trading. Not success, but sincerity. When you can look at your reflection, without flinching, without defending, without pretending, you have already won. Not the game of money, the game of awareness. Most traders dream of financial freedom. Few realize it begins with emotional freedom. Money cannot free a man who is chained to his mind. You can have millions and still live as a slave, chained to the need to be right, the fear of being wrong, the constant noise of wanting more. But when you learn to breathe through every tick, to accept every outcome as part of a larger rhythm, you discover a kind of wealth that no chart can measure. Peace becomes your profit. Presence becomes your edge. Freedom is not found in control. It's found in surrender. But surrender does not mean defeat. It means participation without resistance. It's the moment you stop trying to bend the market and start learning from its flow. Like a sailor adjusting to the wind, you stop cursing the direction and start using it. The wind doesn't obey you, but it can carry you if you learn to listen. That's the paradox of mastery. You gain control by letting go of control. To trade in freedom is to live in the present. The past is data. The future is illusion. The only candle that matters is the one that's forming now. In that space, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop predicting and start perceiving. You stop hoping and start understanding. The market becomes less like an opponent and more like weather. Something you observe, adapt to, respect. You don't shout at the rain. You carry an umbrella. There's a quiet beauty in realizing you don't need to know what comes next, because freedom lives in uncertainty. Certainty is just a story we tell to feel safe. The more you cling to it, the more it controls you. The more you release it, the lighter you become. You begin to see that volatility is not chaos. It's movement. It's life itself. You cannot freeze the ocean. You can only surf it. When you trade in freedom, you stop counting wins and losses. You start counting lessons. Each trade becomes a meditation. Each mistake becomes memory. Each realization becomes release. You no longer fear drawdowns. You fear disconnection, because the only true loss is forgetting who you are. And who you are is not your balance, not your strategy, not your reputation. You are awareness, the one watching the rise and fall, untouched. At this stage, you may find trading quieter, not easier, just keener. There's less noise inside, fewer highs, fewer lows, more breath. You don't celebrate wins like victories. You don't mourn losses like tragedies. You bow to both, because both are teachers, and the lesson is the same. Everything moves, and so must you. Freedom beyond pain is not about perfection. It's about participation. You participate in the dance of uncertainty without losing rhythm. You flow with the market, with life, with time. You stop asking for guarantees and start finding gratitude. The world no longer needs to behave for you to feel peace. You are peace, moving through the world. When you reach this state, you look back at your old self, the one who gong lower, who panicked, who begged for comebacks, and you feel nothing but compassion, because that version of you was learning. It wasn't wrong, it was just incomplete. You see now that every mistake, every loss, every sleepless night was necessary. Pain was never the enemy, it was the invitation, an invitation to awaken. And when the next loss comes, because it will, you won't run. You'll breathe. You'll watch it unfold. You'll say, "Thank you for reminding me who I am." Then you'll move on, calm, centered, free. That is the final graduation. To trade without fear, to live without attachment, to see without distortion, freedom beyond pain. The market still moves, but now, so do you. Not in reaction, but in rhythm. And somewhere, between the tick and the talk, between the breath and the trade, you finally understand. You were never trying to master the market. You were learning to master yourself. And brings us to the end of today's story. Every trade, every rise, every fall is more than a market move. It's a reflection of who we are and what we're still learning to become. If this story gave you something to think about, a moment of calm, or a new way to see the market, then I'd be grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us share these lessons with more people who are still searching for clarity, just like you and me. Thank you for being here, for listening, for thinking, and for growing with us. Until next time, this is Trading Lessons from Legends, where every story is a step toward understanding yourself through the market.